Building in a Small Town, where we're talking to entrepreneurs, community leaders, policymakers, and more to find out how they're building things in small towns. I'm your host, Shelby Smith. Hello and welcome back to the Building in a Small Town podcast. Today I have a guest that is blast from the past for me. I swear it's been like 20 years since we've seen each other.
Middle school.
Yeah. So we grew up together. So it's Logan Pejsha-Davis. Mm-hmm. Now I always knew you as Logan Pejsha.
Yeah.
And she is the owner of Dahlia Darling Co and co-owner of the Bus Guys. Mm-hmm. So thank you for coming and being with me today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So I know at least part of your background, but can you talk about your background? Where you grew up, how you met your husband, that whole thing.
So Zach and I are both from Nevada. Zach is my husband. I graduated in 2009. He graduated in 2008. We dated in high school. I don't necessarily call us high school sweethearts, but we dated in high school, broke up when we both went to college, went our separate ways. And college was a very hard time for me. I went through a lot of things, a lot of personal things with just not only myself, but with my family. And so at the end of all of that, I'd say I went back to Zach because he was my safe space. And then we got married, had kids, and the rest is history. So then we built a business.
Yeah.
Being in Nevada and then raising our family in business there, it's amazing. It's so nice. I never thought I would stay in Nevada. I always had dreams of leaving Iowa, but coming back and being in your hometown and having all these big dreams and goals, raising your business and wanting to be a part of the community and change it and make it a community for other people too is definitely a driving force for me. I did not complete college. I had to work my way. Again, with all the personal things going on, I had to work for an income. There was no way I was going to get through life without that. So it was hard for me to balance everything. And that, I think, was also a big driving force for me. I've had family members very close to me struggled with substance abuse. Very young, my mom was asking me to help her with bills. And I did, because I was in college, and that was the first turning point for me was, and I say all of this only because I want people to know it doesn't matter where you start. I don't say this because I want people to feel bad for me. I say it because this was my driving force, and I want other people to know, that can be your driving force. So I started off in college helping my mom pay her bills, working and paying for my own. And then just the workforce, right away, I knew that was it. I don't think I even ever had dreams of finishing college, which is weird to say because not everybody thinks that. But I knew right away that just working was my thing. I had a good work ethic. I wanted to reap the rewards of having a paycheck right away. And so I think that's probably where a business probably even came about. I always thought that I was going to, back in high school, be an accountant or a designer. I loved numbers. I love digging into numbers. I was good at numbers, but it was the work. I wanted to have the work and the paycheck. So again, going back, I'm helping my mom. I'm paying to get myself through college, or what was little of college for me. And then, fast forward through all of the professional benefits that I was getting. I worked at Mary Greeley as a coordinator for our dietary department when I first started. Worked my way up, and then I had changed into several different departments, and that's, I think, where I found my love of helping people. Even being in a coordinator role where you're the leader, helping, when everybody else leaves, you're helping this whole team of people. And working at a hospital, you see everything. You see even just, it doesn't matter what department. There's a lot of teamwork that goes into it. And then changing into different departments. I changed into the Cancer Resource Center, and I helped with our wigs for our patients and bra prosthesis for our breast cancer patients. And that role was very life-changing for me in the way of the leadership that I was around, and the compassion that I had experienced there, from people, from our patients and from other employees. That was a big turning point for me, I think, in just knowing that it could be done. Running a business and being a mom and doing it all. I think when you start, I don't want to say the bottom, but when you start at the bottom, in a sense, you question, is this even possible for me? And to have positive impact from outside sources and have them kind of cheering me on was a big thing. But going back to the Cancer Resource Center, we had already owned Bus Guys while I was there for a few years.
And what year was that? What year did you guys start that up? Was Zach still in college? Did Zach go to college?
He did. He went to DMAC.
Okay.
We started, so we started Bus Guys back when I was still a coordinator in dietary. We started Bus Guys, 2018, 2019, so it was right before COVID. I remember his idea of Bus Guys came about. We were sitting on a boat, his mom and dad's boat, and he had the idea of buying a party bus because we had another friend from college that, fresh out of college, he started a very successful party bus business. And this guy that had done it was the type of guy where he is not the party guy. He was always the guy that was following the rules. Like, if we were throwing a party, he's like, you guys need to go to bed. Like, stop. And then he's the one that started the party bus business, and we were like, where is this coming from? But he was fantastic at it for that reason, probably, because he had all the regulations and the rules, and he took it very seriously. He had nice, clean buses, and it took off. So, and Zach and I, backtrack, we're sitting on a boat, okay? At the time, we had a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and then we had Tatum, who was a baby in a car seat on a boat. And Zach said, he's like, I'm going to buy a party bus. And I'm like, this was my first time hearing this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? No. My immediate no, because we're parents. Like, no way. This other guy, he's single, he's a bachelor, he can do whatever. But no, not for us. And if anybody knows Zach Davis, he is a very outgoing person. So I'm like, I don't know if that's the best choice for you as a dad right now. And we were young when we had Jax. I was still a baby. I was 22 or 23 when we had Jax. So I mean, at this point in time, like, we're very young. We were living in a very small house. Zach's grandpa had passed away from an accident, and we were able to move into his house. And then again, going back to me helping my mom, we had struggled with her and her mental health. Obviously, I'm an only child, and so my mom and I were very close growing up, and so it really affected me this entire time, from the age of 18, 19 when it started, to all the way up until my early motherhood, which was very difficult. I went through our wedding process. It's a process of getting married and planning a wedding. But I went through that process with my mom struggling with mental health, having kids, and my mom's continued to struggle with her mental health, and we did what we could to support her. And then it was probably about the same time when Zach had this idea of starting a party bus business, where I had found out she had opened a credit card line in my name. $25,000 credit card opened in my name, and we were getting ready to add on to our house. And when I say add on to our house, we were going to double our square footage and basically redo our entire house. So honestly, they say don't ever start a business because you needed side income, but we needed a side income. Like, with everything going on, we needed it. And so we're on a boat, and Zach has this crazy idea. So all of these other things are going on. We have a baby, we have a 3-year-old already, planning on adding on to our house, credit card fraud from my own mom. I mean, and still financially supporting her and trying to support her in every way that we could. And it was a lot. And so I said no. A week later, Zach comes home with a bus. Who would have thought? If you know Zach, it's honestly no surprise. But I'm very, very happy he did, because holy buckets. I would have never dreamed that Bus Guys would do the things it's done since then. So, and when he came home, I was mad initially, but immediately my thought process is, I'm stepping in, because that's my personality. Like, going back to being a coordinator in dietary and doing all those things, like, I think I'm naturally an overbearing, not overbearing person, but I'm naturally a very hands-on person. Work ethic is important to me, and I'm not just going to stand by and watch him do it. So I jumped right in. And it's been a blessing. Before all of this, we were doing a car detailing business out of a garage. It wasn't anything big, but it did get big enough to the point where we were very busy every weekend. We were selling gift cards. And it just got to the point where when we had Jax, our first son, it was too time consuming to be doing something like that. We weren't charging a lot, I mean, it was, I think, a good way to kind of dabble into owning your own business, but it wasn't not anything legitimate like Bus Guys was. So we get into Bus Guys. We have no idea what we're getting into. No idea. Nobody ever grows up and says, I'm going to own a party bus business.
Nobody even knows what to do with the bus when it shows up in their driveway, do they? Like, talk to me about that, of like day one. First of all, here's your husband, not even a week after you've had this conversation, and said adamantly no. Mm-hmm. He shows up with this bus. Where did he get the bus? Like, what kind of bus was it? Yep. Like, is it one of those bright yellow school buses? And you're like, oh,
thank God.
Okay.
We've done that, but not with this one. Thank goodness. He got on Marketplace, and it was crazy. It was actually a guy that was like very close to our house. He opened his own party bus business. This man had already done all the work, and it was like perfect. And I will say, we have yet to ever come across something like that, where you buy a bus and it is actually completely done in a well done way, mechanically sound. I mean, this will never happen again. Like, we will never find a bus this great. And so again, I'm happy it happened the way it did.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And he was literally I could see his house from my house, and we had no idea. He's just across the cornfield. No idea this man existed. No idea that this business existed. No idea. He was called like the farm truck or something like that. No idea. And so he was moving out of state, and he even said, he was like, I just started this on a whim and it's been going great. He's like, I hate to see it go, but I'm moving and I'm not going to take it with me. And so we bought it. We bought it, and we did not start our own LLC. We partnered with our college friend who was already an established business. That was also a game changer for us. That was huge. It was a huge, huge help for us. Insurance for a party bus business. And as we all know how the insurance is going right now, like it's impossible. But there's so many regulations with insurance for a party bus in the state of anywhere. There's regulations. So, and it's hard to get. Again, if you know Zach Davis, his driving record probably wasn't the greatest. So I'm sure. Oh, and he didn't even have a CDL, by the way.
Right. So nobody can drive the bus
Nobody can drive a bus yet. We don't know what Zach's insurance would have looked like. Thank God. Yeah, it was something.
Oh, man.
So we partnered with our college friend, and he was a huge help. He had been doing, so he's in the Carroll, Iowa area, and he had been a part of like Guthrie River Ruckus, like big events. So he knew what he was doing. He helped us. He was like, you guys it was not anything super formal. We didn't have a contract. He was very nice. He's like, you just take the bookings in your area. I'll take the bookings in mine, which at the time I think he had like 8 or 9 buses. Like he was dominating.
He was big.
Yeah. And he was coming over here all the time. And so he was like, yeah, you guys take this. And obviously whatever we couldn't do, we were like, here, call our partner or whatever, schedule it. And so it was amazing because not only were we partnering with such a big business already, but then just to have his wealth of knowledge, and it was huge.
And so did you adopt like was his branding the Bus Guys? So that was an already established name as well. That's, you know, that's worth its weight in gold at that point too.
So, and we're, you know, and still to this day in our location, we kind of dominate where we are. And that was one huge driving force to our success with Bus Guys, is Des Moines is the closest you'll find anything. And even then they are either crappy party buses that probably don't have legitimate insurance, or they're like a nice limo style bus. And I think both, you know, I think it's fine. But I think where we are, you still need to know your market. And our market was, they don't want to pay for the super nice charter bus. They would rather just have like a nice school bus. And that's what we had. Our seats were like restaurant pleather seats inside with like a wood frame. I mean, it was a nice, I had never been even on a party bus ever. Zach is like, have you ever done this? And I'm like, I have no idea how to party on a party bus.
Yes. Where am I supposed to sit?
No idea. So they had heat. It was nice seating. They had cup holders. They had phone chargers. Everything was done. So it was nice. And yeah, we adopted his marketing, the Bus Guys. I can't remember if it's a guy or guys, but that's how it all started. We had our own Google listing just for the separate phone number. And we started going to wedding shows. Obviously, we would communicate with him and have his approval. And he was like, yeah, do it. Go for it. So then we start the process of adding onto our house, which had been a few years later. We had another guy kind of partnering with us. He just kind of bought a bus and was under our umbrella, so to speak, which was also still under this bigger umbrella. And so we all kind of just worked together. Then that partner, he was out. We had grown by this time with drivers. The whole idea was also to not have my husband drive consistently. He did have to go get a CDL, which at that time you could just walk into a DOT and get a CDL. Yeah. Now you have to go through a whole DMAT class, and there's a lot more requirements. Even if you already have a CDL, just to get a passenger endorsement, you still have to go sit through a whole class, and it's a mess. But thank God we grew then before all of the DOT stuff changed, because it's made it a little bit harder to find drivers. Most of the time, if they think they have a Class A, they can just do it, and that's not the case.
Right. They need the passenger endorsement.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. But so we got to the point where it had been a year or two, and we were adding on to our house, and I was taking online classes. We had 3 kids at this time. I had a 3-month-old. I was taking online classes, working full-time, running Bus Guys. Zach was still working at Van Wall full-time. There was enough going on. I was living in my mother-in-law's basement while we're building our house. And again, we didn't pay a subcontractor to do anything. I was making all the decisions. I was over there telling the construction guys where I wanted my door and what size, and I'm door jambs. I'm like, at the time I knew so much about construction that I swear I could have done it multiple times.
I can totally relate.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
So all of that was going on. It was a stressful time in my life, but we got through it. I think, again, because of life experiences, I've learned you just keep pushing through. You know, like nobody's going to come over and pick you up and do it. You just have to do it. So we got a letter from our partner in Carroll that he was going to be done. And so we debated, do we be done also, or do we keep going? We decided to keep going because we were successful right off the bat. And again, I think our location was a huge part of that. at the time, I also found that the transportation company in Iowa was odd. Customer service was like not a thing, and people were just putting up with it. I had heard that there was like just some guys that were running their businesses canceling reservations just to take on the next biggest, best paying job. And I'm just like, as a mom, as somebody that had planned a wedding, I'm like, how can you do that to somebody? How can you just cancel on somebody on their wedding day just because you just got a bigger paying job? Like, my mind was blown. And people told us all the time they liked when they were reserving with us that they were talking to somebody. And so I think that was another huge thing that kept us successful is you think it's the easiest, simplest thing, but customer service. And they're just like, we're so happy we can talk to somebody and that you're quick and you're not canceling on us. And it was mind blowing to me. Working at Mary Greeley again, like customer service, people, like that's my thing. And I'm like, either I'm really good at this or I'm just doing it. Like I don't, yeah. But we got through the success. We decided we were going to keep going because we're adding onto the house again. We were like, we need that income. We purchased several buses after that, kept adding on to drivers. At one point we had, I think, 6 or 7 drivers on our roster, which was amazing. The buses have been huge project. Now first, again, buying that first bus, like,
it spoiled you.
Never, yeah. And so then after that, we kept buying buses that were already, well, I shouldn't say that. We bought another bus that was already done. It was great. It wasn't my favorite interior, so we ripped up the floor right away and laid like an epoxy floor. And then it goes back to having different buses that are different styles. And we do a variety of events. Specifically, we do a lot of weddings. And I think that it made a huge difference. We were trying to be a little bit cohesive, make them look not so much like a party bus and just like more like a blank slate, neutral. And then we got to add another bus. And then we got to our most recent one, which was a disaster. And we built it completely. It was just like everything that could go wrong went wrong. I was sick of the black. We do weddings. I wanted something different. I wanted to go feminine. Our biggest clientele is females. Zach was not all for that. And so we tried to stay neutral. So I was going to, due to popular responses, I will say, it's not what I wanted, but due to popular responses, we were going to paint the bus blue, dove blue specifically. I remember going into Arnold's with my children by myself, looking at paint colors, which children don't stay occupied very long in a paint store and not to an automotive store. Popcorn machine popping, trying to keep my kids away from the popcorn machine, looking at paint samples. And again, it goes back to I also have a thing for interior design. So like, I feel like I know my colors. I'm looking at colors. I'm like, this one's too green. I don't want speckles, la-di-da-di-da. So we finally just get one, pick one out. We pay somebody else to do it. There were flecks of metallic in there, which I specifically said I did not want. And when I went to go look at this bus, the whole thing was covered in specks. And I was so annoyed because it looked like a Toyota Camry. I'm sorry if anybody drives a Toyota Camry, but it's not what I had in mind for a bus for a wedding. So, and then the inside, we completely ripped out every single seat. And you go through the process of, they're stripped. So Zach is under a bus and I'm on top, and we still have 3 kids. We still have a business to run. We have, on any given Saturday, we have, when we're slow, 3 events. 1 event for every bus at night. But we'll easily have 12 to 15 events just on one day on one Saturday during our wedding seasons. And so to take the time to deal with stripped screws and a paint color that's not the one, I'm just like, my time could be better spent doing some other things. So that was a learning experience for us, building this last bus. I am so happy, now I see it. We repurposed church pews as the seating. Again, it's my wedding bus. Like, I thought that was cute. It's blue for blue for the wedding day. I wanted like this tile floor when Zach was not all for a tiled floor.
Like a checkered tile floor. Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. He's like, no. He's like, you have to think about a bus it's in Iowa. You have to go through the temperatures and driving around on these bumpy roads. So we just lay down a laminate floor and glued it down, and it looks great, but it was an experience. I'm going back to COVID now. I'm thinking like backwards to get to this point. COVID was hard, but it was still amazing, like how much him and I both knew we were going to be okay. Like with weddings stopping, yes, it put a halt to our business. Obviously, everything shut down. But with how much success we had, we knew it was going to be fine. Obviously, we had to be smart with our money. It was tough because, again, adding on to the process of the house and kids, it was just, everything was tight. But there was one day right before COVID, I was scrolling through my Facebook feed, aimlessly scrolling, which I try not to do anymore. But I think back to this and I'm like, see, this is what happens when you do scroll through Facebook. Hold on, I need a drink.
You're fine.
I love coffee.
Same.
So I had been scrolling through, and I found these Wedding Choice Awards, and I think it was maybe only their first or second time doing it, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Good for marketing, if anything. Like, there's no way we'd win. We're just the little guys, I see who they're listing, and it's like Majestic Limo, who's been, I think, in Des Moines for years, probably longer that I've been alive, and they're literally the biggest company, like the biggest limo company. They have every vehicle under the sun that you can think of, and I think they go like outside of state lines, like big companies going up for this nomination for wedding transportation. So I go through the process of getting Bus Guys in there. So at this point, we had turned into Bus Guys. We were no longer with our partner. We set up Bus Guys, not the bus guy or the Bus Guys, thinking he was going to be done. Zach wanted to keep things somewhat cohesive because we had already built a reputation for ourselves also in the Ames area. With him being in Carroll, he's like, I think it'd still be fine. And if he's closing, we can keep our name. So we stuck with Bus Guys LLC. And then he had decided to stay open, which is fine. Like, we respect him. Amazing partnership, like I said, but he decided to stay open. And so there's confusion, but we never care. But so we were Bus Guys. So I go to put Bus Guys into the Wedding Choice Awards. It's through the Heartland Wedding Ideas magazine, which is like that free little magazine you see like at Fairways and Hobby Lobby. And I remember seeing it when I was planning my wedding, but there are some of the biggest wedding vendors in Iowa, like some of the most talented that care about what they're doing and are so good at what they do in this free little magazine that I just like, I want to scream it from the top of the mountain sometimes, because I'm like, even if we weren't involved, that little magazine has so many good resources for people that are not going to just blow you off on your wedding day. So, and I had no idea. All I knew, again, enrolling Bus Guys into this, all I knew is, oh, it's that free little magazine. I remember seeing this when I was planning my own wedding. And I thought it was all pros that I never in a million years thought I would ever be working next to, or wedding pros even on my wedding day that I could not imagine being a part of my wedding day. And so I enroll us. Our very first year, I enrolled us. We won number 1, and I didn't even try. I shared the link a couple times on our social media. I did not sit on my laptop and email individually. I just shared it, and I was like, hey, vote for us. And then we won. And we beat out the company that Zach and I had booked for our wedding day, who again was like a big time limo company in Des Moines. And I was completely shocked when that happened. And again, it goes back to, what are we doing different? It's not like we had the nicest buses. It was just customer service and knowing people. And I think staying true to our roots, knowing that I grew up in low class, Zach grew up, Zach had a perfect, normal, not perfect, but normal life, but we just know like how to treat people. And I think that that's how it all happened. Obviously, I mean, it wasn't our buses that was winning. It was just the fact that we were involved with the most and people wanted to support us. And then all of a sudden we were just involved with so many big weddings with these massive photographers, and they're tagging us in their posts, and I'm just like completely blown away. And then it happened again, and then it happened again. I think one year we were voted 2022, we were voted number 2. 2023, we were voted again number 1. And I'm just like, top 3 right after COVID. That's insane for us to just have little old us. And so I think being a part of that, we did finally attend we attended the Wedding Choice Awards for our first time. We've always kind of been like behind the scenes, like we never put ourselves out there that much. And so going to the Wedding Choice Awards in person was like probably our biggest networking in person, like ownership of any of it. I mean, obviously we take ownership of our daily stuff, but never put ourselves out there like that. And so after that, I think it really was a driving force for us to do more. Like we joined the Ames Chamber of Commerce this year. Yes, this year. Zach serves on Lincoln Highway Days, which is like Nevada's town celebration, serves on the committee. We're both on Pizza Palooza in Nevada, a new event coming, third year in Nevada. And I recently joined Main Street Nevada Committee. And all of that, I think, has happened because of Bus Guys. We raised our prices a few times. I think we raised our prices twice last year and then again this year, just because we're getting to the point where we have so many other projects going on that we have to make up for insurance and raise our prices a little bit. And we still blew it out of the water how many events we did for this year. This year, for 2023, we did 376 events. It's insane.
Dang.
Yeah. I don't know how.
And the thing about that too is the majority of those are on weekends, right? Like not exclusively, but almost exclusively on weekends. And you have 52 of those a year. Yeah. So you start doing the math on that.
Right. Oh yeah. I was crunching numbers immediately. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, it's mostly weddings, which is insane to me. We do get a lot of different things. We've done celebrations of life. We've done graduations. We've done family reunions. We've done a lot of corporate events lately, Christmas light tours. I mean, the options are endless. I see all these things, and a lot of people will tag me, and I'm floating on social media like bakery, bar crawl, but not a bar crawl. Bookstore crawl on a bus. And like all those things, I'm like, yes. Like that is what I think we also started Bus Guys with, is especially me. I'm not so much of a party person. And so like the penis themed bachelorette party, I'm like, when are we going to get over? Like I get it, but it's not my thing. No. It's fine if it's somebody else's. But that was always my thing with right from the get-go with Bus Guys is like, it doesn't have to be what you think it is. And I think also opening that perspective was a big thing. Like we get the sweetest little old ladies that want to book us to go shopping, and I'm like, can I come with you because you're so cute? But it's it's amazing, and I'm just so happy that we've been able to be a part of so many things. I remember one specific celebration of life that we were a part of, and I will never forget until the day I die. I will never forget that event and like us being a part of it. I will never forget when they reached out to us. The event went way longer because we had all of his family and friends on the bus to go to his funeral, and then they all went out and celebrated him. And his mom reached out to me again this summer, and she's just like, this is about the time that I would be booking you. And she's like, we were going to, but it sounds like everybody else has other plans. But she's like, I just want you to know, a year later, we still remember you being a part of that. And I'm like, that is why we do what we do. Because even with weddings, it's the same thing. They remember, that is one of the most intimate. I mean, obviously you have your times where it's just you and your partner, but then you're also on the bus with just your best friends or just your family. And when you have, I once have big weddings. So when you have a guest list of 275, but then you get to be on the bus for an hour with just your people, like, it's still considered an intimate part of your day. And whether you just go take photos or you do go to a bar, like, it's like your own little VIP celebration. So yeah, that's how I see the party bus business. And that's kind of what started Dahlia Darling Co. The vintage bus was just, again, I needed a little bit more design and a little bit more feminine thing. That was mine. And so that's kind of where it all started.
And so she did not end up blue.
No.
So
I made sure that did not happen.
Rather than have a robin egg driving around,
no.
What did you end up landing on after the Dove Blue absolute failure?
I wish I had my cup. So I have a favorite tumbler. I am the type of person where I am carrying around a comfort water bottle at all times. And I actually had, I have a tumbler that matches my bus, probably identical, and it is my favorite cup. So I would say that was it. And then I also, by chance, it must have been like a very trendy color at the time at Target, because I also bought like glass bowls from Target and Tupperware, and the lid just happened to match it. And I remember literally setting it on my counter, my water bottle and these Tupperware lids next together. And I took a picture and I sent it to my friend, and I was like, I think this should be the color of my bus.
And you would describe it as like a sage, I would call it sage green.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I did not want it to be too turquoise.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was already a thing on the market, and I just wanted to be something different, like usual.
Yeah.
So I didn't want it to be too yellow. I spent 3 hours again at Arnold's. Arnold's knows me very well, and my children. I spent 3 hours in Arnold's that day. I remember my nail color was a yellow green, and I remember also using that, saying my nail color is what I don't want. It's too yellow. And I remember sitting there sifting through colors. The bus is a 1972 bus, Crown bus. And I remember my grandma had a great suggestion. She's like, look at other vehicles from that time period.
That is a great idea.
So I did, but they were very dark. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want. Light, bright, airy, happy, fun. Like, that's the whole vibe I was going for. So, but I knew right away green. I did. I like green. Yeah. So that was easy. And I know my whites. And so I was the type of person where I went home with 3 different whites and 3 different greens. I told myself, I was like, I'm not going home with more than 3, because I know if I go home with more than 3, I'll just come right back. It wasn't going to happen. So I did start off by looking at Volkswagen colors, because, I mean, the bus kind of looks like, everybody thinks it's a Volkswagen. I'm like, it's actually not. It's just it looks like one, which is great. But I started by looking at Volkswagen colors and their whites because I did not want something that was too crisp white. And again, I'm thinking about what type of events am I doing? Weddings. I don't want it to clash with a wedding dress.
Right.
I don't want it to look too dingy in a photo. I mean, I know there's editing and all that can be changed, but I'm like, color is important with this. So I went home. I painted the samples, 3 greens, 3 whites. I numbered them. I painted them on all sides of the bus, and I told my husband to park the bus in the driveway. And I literally went out there to look at the colors like 3 different times in a day. And I took pictures and I sent them to people, but I also would look at the colors in person, look at the colors on my phone on a photo, and I knew right away in my heart. I'm the type of person that I know what I want, and I'm going to ask people for their opinion, but then I'm going to go with what I want. So I've tried to not ask people for their opinion because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to go with what I want. But sometimes it's nice to have feedback.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice to have somebody maybe confirm that you're not crazy or like completely confirm that you're crazy and you're totally on the right track.
Yes.
I think there's either 2 ways to read that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, and backtracking. So when this bus showed up, talking about buses, when this bus showed up, well, now let's go back to the process. I met a guy on Facebook in California with a bus, and I did a lot of research before going into this because I knew this was going to be tough, and to convince my husband, because this was right at the end of COVID.
I feel like it was like 2021 because I remember you putting up a Facebook post being like, does anyone know anyone that can transport a bus from California to Iowa?
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I mean, I'm the type of person where I am very confident, and I know that I will just figure it out. Like, failure is not an option in my mind. Even if it fails, I'm just like, well, at least you learned something, you know? Like,
yes.
So my husband thought I was crazy. Again, we had gone through all of this financial stuff. And when I bought the bus, we sat on it for a while. Like, it took us a long time to get through the process because it was just one challenge after the next. So, and again, I'm going to nerd out here because now that I know things about buses, I also did my research on this company. So this company Crown Coach stopped manufacturing buses in 1991. They were only made in California. So they are already very hard to find in the Midwest. They didn't really make it out of California. California is trying to destroy many of these buses because of emission laws. And so they will sit in junkyards and then just get impounded. So again, little old me, I'm like, I gotta save these buses. So that's what I'm out to do. But I found this guy in California. He is actually like a Crown guru. So manufactured in California. They stopped making them in 1991. Not hard. I mean, they're not found in the Midwest. This guy was like a collector, so to speak, of them. He would go as far as like restoring them to museum level, and they will be in movies. So this guy was like,
he was good.
He was good. He knew his buses. And he is like this 75-year-old sweetest man. Like, I'm like, no harm. It'll all be fine. So I find a bus, and I see that it's him selling it. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Well, actually, no. I found a different bus that I really liked. And it was closer, Indiana. But it also had, like, museum-level insurance on it. Brand new paint job. And I'm like, I'm going to just take the paint job off. Like, I don't know if I need something like that. But at least I would know it's very mechanically sound. It's in the Midwest. So I was going to go for that one. It was way crazy expensive. Again, they're not manufactured anymore. Then to find one in the Midwest is way out of budget. There was no budget. There was, but it was hard to stick to.
It was negotiable.
It was hard. Yeah. So, and my husband was like, this is the bad idea. COVID. What if COVID comes back?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
He was, there was no convincing him. It was just basically like what we did with bus number 1 for Bus Guys all over again, but my turn. That's basically what this was. So, Al is his name in California. Very sweet man. He's selling several buses. He has pictures of what I think is my bus. Seats are intact. It all looks great. And maybe I'm guilty of like falling in love with something, and I think I'm blind to many things. And so there very well could have been photos of other things that I wasn't aware of until the bus showed up in Iowa. So, but this is my first time like interacting with Al, and we've since had many interactions with Al because it's a learning process with this bus. But I called him and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in buying this bus. Yeah, he's like telling me, he's like, it's such a good bus. This is out of all the buses that I've ever owned, this is one of my favorites. So of course, after this conversation with him, I'm like, this is such an interesting man. So I'm like continuing to do digging on him. Like, I'm a part of all these Facebook groups with buses. I totally nerd out, but I kind of have to. Like, you have to do your research.
It's your business.
I go down the rabbit hole. So I'm very convinced that this man, it's going to be fine. Like, he would tell me if there was something wrong with it. And it was all fine after the fact. But it was quite the process to get it to Iowa. Holy buckets. So I PayPal'd Al. $15,000 PayPal'd Al. I'm thinking I'm going to go to the state of California. COVID is still happening, and I think I'm going to go to see this bus. But I PayPal'd him first because I want him to hold the bus. And it wasn't going to happen with 3 kids and COVID still happening. And what if the plan was we were going to go to California, drive it back. What if the bus breaks down? Like, Zach is handy, but not a bus mechanic. Like, he's like, well, I've got a friend. He can just come with us. Oh, so we're all 3 just going to go to California now? And like, no, it's not worth it. So I was going to go try and see Melina.
It'd been
my
excuse.
Best friend. Yeah. But we ended up PayPaling Al the money. And then I was not sure how we were going to get it back yet at that point. I just knew that this was my bus. And this was the person who I needed to at least buy it from. Like, not just some stranger. I mean, he's a stranger, but not. So Zach wasn't happy when I told him I PayPal'd him using his dad's account. And it was all fine though. But so then trying to find somebody, again, California has strict emission laws. Nobody wants to go into the state of California with their trucks. So that was difficult. We reached out to a few different people to get quotes, and they were like, no. As soon as we said California, they were like, no. So that was a barrier. We finally found somebody who was a friend that had the right connections, and we found somebody. Again, I learned all these things. A trailer called a low boy, and you have to have, and because it's so low to the ground and it's so long, like they're like, where am I loading at? I'm like, can't you figure that out when you get there? No, we need to know before. So I'm figuring out and learning all of these details as it all unfolds, and it unfolded fine. The bus showed up. And my husband called me. I remember it was like, I'm at work and my husband called me and he's like, the bus is here. And I remember being so excited. Like, I was like, my baby, like I was so excited. And when I saw the bus in person, I probably could have cried a little bit. I might have teared up out of stress. The back end was completely smashed in to the point where it definitely was going to need body work. And that was not an expense that I was expecting. Again, we paid somebody to ship it, obviously. The bus is already more than what I was expecting. A regular school bus is next to nothing. During COVID, they went up because people were turning them into like campers and houses. And so the price of a bus went up. But like right now, I mean, you can basically give a bus away. I mean, they're so cheap, but not these. And so we were already over budget. So to see that back end smashed in, and that's kind of the focal point, like the fact that it's like a curved bus and not just like a regular school bus. I was like, shoot, it's never going to look the same. And then I got on the inside, and the entire ceiling is covered in dents. Like somebody just like took the seats out and like shook the bus. And I have no idea why there's all these dents on the ceiling. I have no idea how they got there, but there's like dents all over. And none of the seats were like screwed into the bus, like in the picture that I had seen. They were just like thrown in there, ripped, destroyed, just tossed in. And I wasn't expecting that. It smelled and looked like it had been just left in an outside space, and there was probably animals in there, and yeah, it wasn't what I was hoping for. So, but again, like determined, just gonna take more time. So I give myself a deadline, and we did not meet that deadline. It took way more work than what I thought. And the inside, with all those dents, like I was planning on keeping it somewhat simple for the inside, just so that I could like get it up and going, get an income coming, and then pay for more improvements as we went along. I had to paint the interior also to try to cover up the dents. Again, because this isn't just about the looks, but it's about the experience. And I think that with Bus Guys, it's more of the memories. And with Dahlia, it is the memories, but it's also more, it's intended to be more of a unique, elevated experience. So painted the inside. Again, I go through the process of, well, what sheen is going to cover all these dents the best? And so finally we got that. I'm at home with paint samples and like fabric swatches and different materials, just trying to figure out like overall plan. I can work in baby steps, and I can be patient. Like I'm not a perfectionist to the point where I need to have everything done right away, but I'm a perfectionist enough to the point where I need to have the plan and the detailed plan, so that way I know how everything else is going to come together. And I say that, but as I also just shipped a bus from California. It's a design thing, I think. When it comes to life things, I'm just like, let's just do it. But we, trying to find the right person to redo the seats. What I thought we were going to like build new seats. So I'm looking at seat structures and going down the rabbit hole of that. Well, then budget wise, and again, I like the idea of keeping the original vibe. Like, I think there's something about repurposing old because it still carries the same energy. Mm-hmm. And so we kept the seats, but completely redid like the foam and the reupholstery. So it's still the original seats inside. I kept the original speaker covers. I kept the original lights. We did obviously do like LED light bulbs in there, but like I wanted it to still feel old, retro, but glam in a sense. The dashboard looks a little rough right now, but there's a part of me where I'm like, it's fine. Like right now, there's not a bride sitting on my dashboard taking a photo. So I think it kind of adds to the character. There's like this old time clock. It's like broken and it's still on there, and I'm not going to get rid of it. The radio, it was the old original PA system, and I just plugged in a radio in there instead of the old PA system. But how cool would it be to keep the old PA system? So it was quite the process trying to find somebody that was in budget for reupholstery. We were painting a bus. We've learned that is tough, and you have to find the right person that has the time and the patience, because it does take a lot of patience with all the ribs and the grooves, and it's a lot. So we did a lot of the prep work as much as we could. Like over spring break, I remember we stayed up until every night gosh, especially with kids, you know, we got to work around their schedule. So spring break is the week we took to do a lot of the demo work, and we would stay up so late every night just trying to get every inch of that paint off. Every little rivet you have to go up and like just hand scrape, and there's hundreds, if not 1,000 or 2 of rivets on. I mean, just, it was nuts. And then for it to be such an old bus, the material is not the same. It's a different outside material that's lighter, easier to dent, so we had to keep that in mind. It was just everything. And I'm a detailed person, so then I'm also thinking about every little, the line, like where is my white ending? Where is, because it's two-tone. Am I doing a design? Am I not doing a design? I was talking to painters. I was talking to people that do like hand details on motorcycles. Like I was talking to every professional possible just to get insight on and even with the prep, I was talking to different people about what's my best way to rip all this paint off, rip a stop sign off, or take the seats apart. And it was just, you get a lot of mixed answers because nobody knows. With a 1991 Crown or a 1972 Crown bus, nobody knew the answer. They're like, well, I've never worked with one around here. So that was hard. And then once we did, finally, fast forward, everything came into place. Like, it looks beautiful. But then mechanic-wise, the atmosphere is different in Iowa than it is in California. So the bus is adapting. And then we were having some issues. Thank God we were not doing events. It was just, you know, us driving it up and down and around town. And it wasn't struggling, like it wasn't like breaking down, but it was not what it was described on the phone to us. You know, Al kept saying, this is my strongest bus. You're going to love it. And we told him, obviously, like, we're in Iowa. What do we need to be doing? It has air brakes. You have to leak the air so that your, I don't know, pipes don't freeze. I mean, in the winter, you have to do the things and like leak the air out. Like, you have to do these things, and you don't have to do those things in California. So it was a learning process. Started having issues. Al asked us a few different times to call his people in California because, again, they're the only ones that have worked on this. So it was just a lot of learning. I mean, I'm happy that we had Al because there's no way we could have gone through it all. But it's done now. Dahlia's done now, and I'm so happy that she is. Last fall, we had embarked on a different project, and we didn't think it was going to go through. So, but we were in a position where growth, like we had so many opportunities of growth, like and not even too quickly. I don't feel like it was all very well paced to where Zach and I work well together. For a husband and wife, it can be difficult. Holy buckets, is it difficult? And then to have 3 kids, like you have to be on the same page. And thank God, during all of this, during COVID, when a lot of people were struggling, we were always on the same page. And so we did not think that this one deal was going to go through. So we agreed Dahlia was long-term, where we were going to grow the most. So we bought another bus. It was a little bit different, but still the process of getting it here, not going to see it in person. Obviously, we knew the questions to ask. This time we did buy it from just like a random person, but we still called Al and we're like, hey, Al, do you know this bus? Because that's what's crazy is there's so few of these buses, is like Al keeps track of them and like knows. It's just...
So you bought another Crown?
I bought another Crown.
Last fall. Like just a couple months ago.
Maybe it was a year ago.
Was it 22?
Maybe.
End of 22? Okay. So I didn't know you had another one.
Yeah. So I haven't touched it. Because this other deal ended up going through.
Yes.
And
can you talk about that other deal?
I can a little bit.
Okay.
So Zach and I bought, I feel like kind of well known, an old schoolhouse, the Shipley Schoolhouse. It's just outside of Nevada, and I'm very excited for it. I love old things, if you can't tell already. I love old buildings too. I love old architecture. And so I'm very, very excited. We did not think it was going to happen for us. And so we bought a second crown to go with Dahlia Darling Co. I've already tried to think about my color situation for that bus, but as of right now, like, nothing else is happening. We want to see Dahlia Darling Co. up and going a little bit more before, but if anything, it's nice. I mean, we have this other bus. We know it'll all be fine. It's nice for all the struggles I have had. Zach is very, very good with finances, and we've been very lucky. Like, you know, we're in a situation to that we can comfortably sit on a bus and it's not a big deal to us. And that's really nice. Like, that's a nice feeling. But, so we bought Shipley Schoolhouse. I'm not ready to say what it's going to be yet.
Okay, I can speculate, but awesome.
Yeah, we're very excited. I think that building has so much potential. It's so beautiful the way it is. The previous owners took very good care of it. And it's just such a piece of history. I'm finding so many people. It's still like new enough that we still have people that went to school there. And they'll talk about it. Like, my grandpa told me, he's like, I played basketball here. And he said it was the nicest gym that he played in when he was little. He's like, I remember this building being beautiful back in its prime. I do think after it was a school, it's kind of disheartening to hear, like, and see what was changed in the building, because it didn't ruin it, but it dated it and created more work for us. Had it been just like the original school, I think it would have been a little bit cooler. We don't have the original gymnasium floor, and I wish that we did. So that's unfortunate. But in the gymnasium, there is this massive light, and I'm trying to, like, it would easily go from almost your wall to wall. Like, it is this huge chandelier.
Oh, jealous.
Yeah. But the previous owners, he like fabbed it, made it. But it's like this massive globe on each light, and the globes are original to the building. And I'm just like, that is exactly what I want to see done to this building.
Yeah.
I don't want to come into this building and completely change it. I want to make this building come back to life.
Right.
And I think, like, Iowa has so many beautiful historical buildings, and so many people are like, oh, it's just old and crumbly. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well,
and you know, yeah.
Sitting in one of those old crumbly buildings.
And it's so beautiful in here, though.
Yeah. Well, so I can say, if you had previous owners that like took really good care of the building, like count your blessings on that one, because like I think many times when people are like, well, that building's really old, it's because nobody took care of it, which was definitely the situation of what we were sitting in. Is like there was very little maintenance. Again, there were like really horrible contracting decisions made like in the 50s and 60s that ended up having knock-on consequences, and then we got to deal with, in 2023 that became very expensive. So I think if the roof is good and you haven't had any major water issues, like that is huge. Like that will save you so much money.
I agree.
But then the reality of it is, like, in order to bring it up, you kind of talked about it with Dahlia, of it's a balance of keeping the old charm but bringing the modern conveniences, because like at the end of the day, yes, your brides are gonna love the photos that they're gonna get taken, but if they don't have heat or they don't have air conditioning or they can't see, like...
Right. Or hear.
Yes. It's a non-starter, not to mention even like the insurance, like your insurance people would have an absolute fit if like XYZ wasn't done. And so it's figuring out that balance. And like, that's what's been really fun for me in this building. And I've like tried to do wherever I can of like saving the old stuff or bringing out the old character, bringing old things in that weren't necessarily, original. But like, what way can you have it modern function, but like retain that character as much, but also do it like on a budget. Because,
on a budget.
if budget was unlimited, it'd be a very different conversation.
I agree.
But,
I agree.
But like it's a figuring out and curating pieces that like work. I don't know.
And I think the fun of it, curating, is key. I also believe, so like going back to design and like my house, I am not the type of person where I find decor to be disposable. And I think I have that outlook on like most things in life. Like I hate to see things, and I think that's a trend in our economy, is to treat things so disposable. And I think there's so much more to be said about if you can find the value and appreciation, grow to love the things that are in your home or a part of whatever. That's the character of it. And again, it goes back to like those things I think hold some sort of vibe, and it just adds to the space too. Like the chandelier with the globes. Nobody might not care, but I love the fact that those globes are original to the building.
Right.
And I mean, the staircase is beautiful. I mean, they've had to do some work, but it's so beautiful. And to see like the brickwork on the outside, it's just, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm jealous. That's a big project though, man. Woo.
Big. It's a over 12,000 square foot.
Yeah.
Building. It's huge.
It's a lot.
Yeah. The schoolhouse is 3 levels. And then there's like the main level. They added on the gymnasium like after the schoolhouse was built. So there's like this like long hallway. And then there's this gymnasium with a massive stage and a kitchen. And there's like, what I love is it's so big and there's so many options. And so that's also where I'm like, I might need a professional because I could get crazy. And again, staying on budget. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and with yours, it being 3 different levels and everything, the beauty of a situation like that is like all 3 levels don't have to be done at once,
right.
And all 3 levels big picture, like can work together, but like get your gym and your future event space together sort of situation with your commissary kitchen that like a caterer can come in, not telling you like this is definitely what you should do, but this is what I would do in that situation.
Exactly.
So like figuring out piecemeal, kind of like, you guys have grown and acquired your buses, like same sort of a situation. Man, I am jealous, but also at the same time, after coming off this building, I'm like, I can't have another old building for at least a little bit.
I know.
So.
And an old bus is all I've done. So just like be thrown into over such a large space that has so much potential. It's hard.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny. Willie and I were sitting on the couch the other day upstairs, and he was like, what's really wild to think about this building is literally everything in this building, except for the trusses and the brick, essentially, is brand new. All of it is brand new because it was in that kind of shape, like down to the subfloor of every, all of it. But again, it was a lack of maintenance.
Yeah.
But then, and so you see that and you like come in here, you wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, this is all brand new. So like trying to make it not seem like it's all brand new and still retain that character is not an easy feat, but like it definitely can be done. And it can be done on a budget.
Yes.
But, like, it's just sometimes you have to look at freaking old tin and be like, that'll go great on the ceiling.
Right.
Like, and I can find that anywhere and everywhere. And, like, you rip up old floorboards and you're like, we're going to hold on to these because this will be trim. Even if it doesn't match everything else, it doesn't matter. Like,
no, we did get very lucky. The woodwork and the doors and the doorknobs, like, it's also beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful. They did have some, I think it was new windows after the derecho. So like, again, like it does have a new roof. It's on geothermal.
Good.
Like we're very, very lucky.
Yeah.
They did the hard things.
Hard things and really expensive.
Yes. Yes.
Those are really expensive things.
The only thing that kills me is the gym. I'm so hung up on it. And it's So they had at one point, I don't know if it was like 70s or 80s. I need to do more research into the building itself. But it sounds like there were hogs in the gymnasium. And so they ripped up the floor and put drains in there. And so then I think the easy fix for that was to just dump concrete over all these drains. And the drains are like wall to wall.
Yeah, they'd be slats.
Yes. And so you can see where the drains were. You can see that they just like dumped concrete on it. And so the floor is uneven, wacky, ugly, hard to clean. I think it was painted, but it's not like a shiny paint. And so it's just not ideal.
No.
But there's so much potential. Like so there are dirt basements. Like I'm going to nerd out over this.
It's fine.
There are dirt basements that go under the stage. And like some people go down there and they're like, this is so creepy. But you go down there, you can see the beautiful framework of the building. There are large enough windows that I think that they would be considered egress windows, which is also nice, that brand new windows in a dirt basement.
Yeah.
I want to, if I can, make that, well, I can't say. Dang it.
You're going to have to come back on and talk about this later.
I don't want to say just yet, but I already have a vision for that space. And I told my husband that, and he's just like, looks at me. And I'm like, he's not like a visual. He's just not that. And so when I typically give him my ideas, like that's the response I get. So it doesn't bother me because I'm expecting that response at this point. But I know that it can be a very cool space, and other people will just look at it and they're like, it's a gross dirt basement. I'm like, oh no, this has so much potential.
Yes. Well, and that's, I think that was one thing I found with this building of like, this is what I wanted it to look like. And I could see it from the beginning.
Yes.
And like me attempting to, describe like, I want this tin ceiling. I want everything else trimmed in barnwood. Like I want this, and like, I want this chandelier. I said, it's just what I want. And everybody would be like, you're going to have a lot going on. And I'm like, I know, but it's going to work. Just like, I can see it. Right. I can't help you because you can't see it, but just do what I'm asking you.
There's always a different type of stress, I feel like, when it's something that you love and you're so passionate about and you already have the vision. It's just a very different type of stress. People have told me that the same thing with Shipley. They're like, that's a lot. Like, are you going to be able to handle this? And I'm like, yes, because I'm passionate about my kids. I'm passionate about my businesses that I already have going on. And I'm passionate about this one because these weren't made just to be money makers. They were a dream of pursuing what I feel like is my purpose. And that is very different, I think. Like there's no max on what or how you're going to do it.
Right.
When you just know that's what you're supposed to be doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And maybe the path to like the finish line is not necessarily always the clearest. And like, and it's also not to say that like
it's not hard. It's going to be hard.
It's always going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be more expensive than you think. It's always going to take longer than you think. Like those three, are just a given.
Yes. And all of those things are things I think when you're a business owner and you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it's just different. Like it just feels right. I hosted Dahlia Darling's open house out there, and I had somebody. It was Nicole Harris. We love her. I love her. I adore Jeff and Nicole Harris. Jeff was our DJ at our wedding, and also accidentally played the Iowa State football game while I was walking down the aisle. Thanks, Jeff. But I adore them, and obviously to see Jeff has an eye for architect, and I mean they both I just think are very like the parents that I never had, even though I'm not going to say like Ian and I weren't best friends. Zach and Ian and the Harris family were best friends, but I do think that the Harris family was like meant to be in my life, because I feel like there's just those parents where I feel like they are the reason I turned out okay. Like I never wanted to be home when I was in high school. There was an instance I remember sleeping in my car parked on the side of the road because I just didn't want to be home. And it's not because I was out doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. It was just because I didn't want to be at home. And so, and like even dating Zach in high school, I think I had that. His mom had a rule like dinner at 6:00 every day, no matter what. You're going to be here, dinner at 6:00. I think that was a huge saving grace for me too. So I think that, and Ian was like a good friend. Ian was a good friend. It's not that he wasn't, but I think Jeff and Nicole somehow developed into being parents that I never really had. And there's a lot of those, like a lot of parents ended up being, and they'll never know this. This will be the first time Jeff and Nicole ever hear that, but having parents that guided me. And I think that, so Nicole came to my open house and she told me, and it meant the world to me for her to say this to me, but she said, this 110% feels like you. She's like it's meant to be that you are in this space. She's like, I can't picture you doing anything else anywhere else. And that was huge. Because when I think about where I started, and for a very successful family to sit there and tell me that, I was like, thank you. Like, speechless. You don't have people like me. And my aunt has told me, she's like, I don't know how you turned out as good as you did. So I know. So to have people believe in me and to say that you are on the right path feels so good at the end of the day. Because obviously you question, I mean, it's yes, I can sit here and say that we can financially comfortably sit on a bus just sitting in a building, but we're still smart with our money. Like we still have to make those decisions and have a house to pay, have 3 kids, you have to plan for emergencies. And so it was a risky thing. And so you always do question, like, was it the right move? But when you have a comment like that, like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this. So yeah, that's a good feeling. I know.
Good.
I know. I love Nicole.
Yeah. Well, so I will say, when you did your Dahlia open house, I saw the pictures. I saw that building in the background, and I was like, I wonder who owns that. I was like, I'd love to have a building like that. We were not done with this quite yet. And so I think I was still in the honeymoon phase of liking old buildings and being like, what's our next project going to be? But I'm working on the next project. Like, we'll get there eventually. But yes,
it's nice to be in like the honeymoon phase. After you finish a project and you're in that honeymoon phase where you're like, this is just so nice. Like, I'm just going to soak it all in. You have to live in those moments. I think I'm a very sensitive person, and that might be a negative, but it's also a positive in the way where I can live also day by day and just like sitting here and enjoying this coffee. Like, this is why I'm so happy to be like a stay-at-home mom and an entrepreneur. Like we said, like, yes, it's hard on some days, but you get benefits of this.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Which, can you, just be scratching my own itch on this, because I don't know if you know, but we just got married. And
I did see that. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. We would not have been your target market for Dahlia Darling Co, because I don't do the wedding industrial complex, is what I call it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Never was my thing. And so
that's okay.
Courthouse wedding with Christmas sweaters seemed like the move for us. But
I do like Christmas sweaters.
It's very low key, very easy. I will always fit in my wedding dress, is what I tell people. I think even if I was pregnant, I could still fit in that sweater. So like, how has that been balancing like the entrepreneurship thing, like with 3 kids, with all of that, as we look forward and start thinking about the kid route and everything, we kind of go, we may not be able to pull the 6 a.m. till 11 at night sort of things is what it's taking for us right now to get things done. But so how is that? It
affects it. And I would be lying if I said it didn't. You're going to make sacrifices. Main Street Nevada is a perfect example. I was asked a couple years ago to join the Vitality Committee, and I said yes, but it just, ideally, my kids will always come first, always. Especially with our middle one, he's sensitive. He has an ADHD diagnosis. He needs extra time. And that's okay. Like, I will always be there for my kids, always. I don't want them to ever grow up thinking, oh, my mom was too busy doing business that she couldn't be with me. I want my kids to grow up and see me doing both. And even if it's not perfect, at least I'm doing it. That's what I want them to see. I don't ever expect perfect from them or from me. And I don't think anybody, I mean, I'm the type of person that I'll admit I have high expectations for myself, but you're never going to be able to do everything perfect. Never. I apologize to my kids. I will sit there and tell them I'm sorry if I do something, like if I forget something, or, you know, like they have to see that I'm a person. I'm their mom, but I'm a person too. And I don't want them to also have the pressure on themselves that they have to be perfect. So I think owning that you're just going to make it work is the best way to do it. And I couldn't do the vitality committee as much as I wanted to. I just couldn't, because it was before I think Tatum had an actual diagnosis, and he recently started Adderall, which has helped. But it was very demanding. I had Ryan, who was only doing daycare part-time, and she was home with me, and she's pretty easygoing. Like, she'll go and sit and hang out with me at meetings, but still, like, I'm like, well, I don't want to drag my kid to a meeting every morning. Like, she wants to go color or play. Like, I'm not going to make her sit there. So it was finding a balance. I was already also a part of Pizza Palooza committee at the time, and so that for me, that was just the cap. If I could go back and switch, I would, but I also just, I mean, you can't really regret, because in the moment, I wanted to be a part of Pizza Palooza more, and I made that decision because it was an event, and I do events. So to me, it made more sense for me to be on Pizza Palooza than on Vitality, because we don't have a brick and mortar on Main Street. As much as with having roots in Nevada, I will always root for our Main Street, Nevada, always. Like, I want to see our Main Street thrive. And then there was, I switched from Vitality. I got an invitation to the promotions committee because it was at night. Well, then that's when it switched, because then my kids were all in school, and I was like, yeah, I can do it. But then I couldn't, because buses, and, you know, if I'm not cleaning a bus, or if Zach has to do maintenance, then it's happening when he comes home from work, and then I need to be in the house with the kids while and so it just wasn't a good time. And as much as I wanted to be, I wasn't going to sacrifice my time with my kids to go to those. So
right. So it's just a matter of fitting in what you can when you can, and then just
you can set your standard high, go for it, but you're not going to be perfect.
No.
Nobody ever will be. And I think you can't tell yourself that you're going to be. You're not going to be the perfect mom. You're not going to be the perfect business owner. All at the same time is too hard.
Yeah. Well, you can't even do that.
No.
You can't be the perfect mom even if you aren't the entrepreneur.
Right.
And, you know, you're never going to be the perfect one. Like, it's just.
And I'm a clean freak, and my house is the dirtiest it's ever been. I pride myself when I was in college, when Melina and I were roommates, Melina and I would leave our apartments cleaner than when we moved in. Like, landlords would always be like, oh, you guys are amazing. I'd be like, thanks. Yeah. And my house is a mess, and it drives me nuts. But I pick a dirty house because I'm going to spend time with my kids instead.
Right.
If my kids need me, I'm going to be there for them instead.
And the kids are not going to,
they
don't even care.
They might go to school and tell their teachers, oh, man, my mom never puts laundry away.
I bet you they don't. And if that is the worst thing they go and say to your teachers, that's fine. Like, I would totally take that.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, I feel like I know what you're probably excited for in the next 12 months, but is there something you're particularly excited for in the next 12 months?
So this year, I'm not a type of person that does
resolutions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am a goal setter, though. So, and I do pride myself, again, from working specifically at the Cancer Resource Center. I think I pride myself more on I am able to listen well. And I think this I've decided is my year to listen more. I need to reflect and learn and go deeper. I mean, I feel like I already do that. Like, I already understand what my purpose is, and I follow those things, and I do meditation, and I do, I do those things. But I think just taking a step back and remembering that there's still always a bigger thing in this world than me and my business is important. I mean, yeah. listening is just going to be my thing for the year. And I think that's, honestly, I am looking forward to that, because for me, my businesses don't work unless I'm aligned. You know, I don't want to use the word aligned, but my businesses aren't going to operate at their best if I'm not at my best. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most this year, is just like another level of learning and growing. The projects will be fun. Like those, I'm very excited for, to chase after those. But yeah, it doesn't come without the work, I think, on myself first. So
yeah, can't pour from an empty cup, exactly. As they say.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, awesome. So if people want to keep up with you, with the Bus Guys, with Dahlia Darling Co, with this mysterious new project, where should they look? Like, where can they find you?
We are on, so Dahlia Darling is on Instagram and Facebook. Bus Guys is on Instagram and Facebook. It's funny you bring this up, because for the last 2 weeks, I've been toying with the idea of making a social media for Shipley. But not really,
do it.
And not really just announcing anything, but just pictures. I've been sharing a lot of pictures, actually, on I got Snapchat this year.
Oh, no.
I got Snapchat this year only, and I don't know why. I did it on a whim. But that's where I've been sharing all my stuff about Shipley. Just because I like being a private person. I don't really show my face on my business accounts at all. So I feel like you have to follow literally all three. Me, Instagram, or me, and then Bus Guys and Dahlia Darling, because I'm sharing different stuff on all three of those pages. Yeah. Which is also hard. If I could choose to step away from social media, I would. But I still like to document the memories. And so that's why I always show up. So a lot of Shipley has been on my Snapchat because I don't want to make it public yet. But I think I'm to the point where I want to be showing off this space, because the photos I have are just stunning. And then when I tell people, they're like, why haven't you shared anything? And I'm like, well, it's on my Snapchat.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I will say that is one thing that I'm I started our social media for this building, for a very different strategic, it was very strategic, and the reason I did it, but looking back, I'm so glad we have it, and from the beginning, because
you can go back and look.
Because we can go back and when we're sitting up on our couch being oh, everything's new in here, but I get a 1-year pop-up and things were just barely framed kind of situation. I'm super thankful that I have that documentation. So if you have it on Snapchat and it's going to be kept that way, that's fine.
I should move it to social media.
I would move it.
And I did that with Dahlia Darling, and I did not do that with Dahlia Darling. I kept it on my personal. Yeah. And I'm kicking myself because I go back and look, especially even I'm a wordy. I could write a novel on my social media when I write. There's no caption. It is a whole book when I write my posts. And going back and looking at my beginning of Dahlia Darling, and I did a lot of research when I did my branding and marketing, or research and digging, I should say. It wasn't just, here's a pretty picture with some cute colors. I did so much digging, and the whole reason for Dahlia was so much more than just to open another business. It was something that was finally me and reflected me, and all of that is only on my personal account. And I wish so badly I would have done just what you said and and so I think I need to do that with Shipley, because there's so much, it's not even just the physical, but there's so much growth that a person goes through. And you can see that if they are very wordy like me, you will see that, and you'll watch the person grow with the project. And I think that's my favorite part. I followed this for a very long time, and it is, yes.
Yeah, well, and it'll be humorous to you too when it's all done, because that was we had, when we did our open houses and stuff, we had our YouTube channel playing, and we went back and watched the first episode, and just the sheer naivete of us going in, thinking these timelines and this budget and all of these things were gonna, oh my gosh, you'll want it. You want it to have the memories, but also you can look back and, like you said, you can literally track that growth of oh, look at how naive we were.
Yes.
So, I would say definitely do that. So, awesome. Well, is there anything else you want to leave the people with?
think so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
Yes,
for coming on.
I can't wait to watch this podcast grow. I think that you're going to do some amazing things with this.
It's been really fun so far. And just to hear people's stories. So.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you guys next time.